Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Week 3. I am Drew Martin, like always, joined by Teddy Covers. We are going over each and every opening line here for the Week 3 slate, hitting the 2 Monday Night Football games. Like always, trying to get you on the right side of some of these moves. And without further ado, my co-host, Teddy Covers. Hot as anybody right now, man. Finding a bunch of winners. Check them out, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Teddy, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you.
Yeah, well, I lost the Raiders game yesterday, so that was no fun. But the good news is that's the only game I've lost the last 2 NFL Sundays. So it's been we've had more right sides than wrong, and the bad beats, which were on full display yesterday, that was the only one that burned me and the clients. So it's been a real good start to the season, as you mentioned, Drew. It's been a real good cross sports run. I mean, dating back to February since the Super Bowl, I've been running pretty good, and continuing that run to open up the NFL season, obviously riding an 80% run into Monday Night Football tonight.
Man, and up over 200% ROI since February 1st, guys. That's 220 and 152. Check them out, Teddy Covers, WagerTalk, and SportsMemo.com, and each and every Monday right here on the NFL Opening Line Report. Guys, we do have 2 Monday Night Football games here, 7:15 Eastern and 8:30 Eastern. Tennessee and Buffalo. We'll hit it real quick, getting you ready for tonight's action. 47.5 being the total. -10 here. That's the Bills at home. Any quick thoughts on the first Monday nighter tonight, Teddy?
Yeah, this game has been sitting 10 and 47.5 for some time now. I'm not anticipating any significant move between now and kickoff on the first game tonight. But the second game, the Eagles-Vikings, that line went down. Now it's going up. And if you like Philadelphia, I would grab the 2.5 now. There's a chance. I don't know that it will. There's a chance this could go to 3. So if you want Philly, lay the 2.5. The Eagles have been very much a wise guy supported team dating back to last season, and we're definitely seeing money come in on Philly, although like that it hasn't gone to 3. And that's an interesting total in that game for the Eagles and the Vikings. There is a sharp square divide on the total. The pros betting the under, the Joes betting the over. So the volume of bets, the number of bets, lots of over bets, but the money coming in has sent the market in the other direction. So it tells us where the big bets are coming for Eagles, Vikings. Big bets are coming on Philly and on the under. So that's the Monday Night Football breakdown. I'm in action on one of those games. You can get that play right now, $9 over at WagerTalk and or SportsMemo.com.
And if you watched the NFL Opening Line Report last week, you were on the right side of that move, totals-wise. I know because I'm taking notes, like always here, Teddy, and you pointed us in the right direction, at least to this point. We still have a few hours left before kickoff. Huge shout-out to the chat box. KC Kelly in the house, David H., Abby Jackson, Doug's, all you guys. Thanks for joining us live. Feel free to fire out what you're looking to bet. Any questions, we'll answer them at the end of the show. And if you're watching on replay, like always, guys, feel free to fire away below in the reply section on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. So we got the start here of the show, NFL Opening Line Report style, Thursday, September 22nd, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. Teddy, we're seeing, man, -5 right now. There's -4.5s out there. So we've already seen a tick up going against the Steelers here on the Browns at home, 38.5 or 39 being the total in Cleveland, Teddy.
So while Dan queues up the doodly-oop for an emergency betting alert, this might be the only one, I don't know. But while Dan queues that up, I do want to talk about the markets this week. They're going to love the 0-2 teams. Know that going in. When it comes to week 3, 0-2, you're in trouble. 0-3, your season's over. And 0-2 teams play like it. Since 2010, just playing on an 0-2 team, 55 and 40 ATS, 58%. 0-2 teams that are off a straight up an ATS loss, 37 and 23 ATS, 62%. That's Carolina, Cincinnati, and Las Vegas. 3 teams that are over, coming off a point spread and straight up loss. They all fall into a positive expectation subset. Note that Indy does not fall into that subset. Now, emergency betting alert right from the top. Let's get the graphic. There are 4.5s out there for Steelers Browns right now. They will not be there. If you want Cleveland, play them sooner, not later. Look, the look-ahead line here was only 3 and 40.5. Sunday morning was 3 minus 20 and 40. My powering number for the game is 3. Open 3.5. Earlier this morning was 3.5, 40.5. The markets are saying they don't trust Pittsburgh. And frankly, if you watch Pittsburgh lose to New England yesterday, you can understand why, certainly on a short week. Trubisky looked like the Mitch Trubisky that got benched in Chicago. He was missing guys. He wasn't seeing guys in his passing lanes. He averaged only 5 yards per pass attempt, only 4.6 air yards per completion. The running game wasn't going. They didn't get any pressure without T.J. Watt in the lineup. Just no sacks in that game after getting 7 against Cincy in the opener. Trubisky's quote, "We can be better at everything. I can be better at decision-making. We had some missed opportunities. I had some missed throws. Bottom line, we got to score more points." A short week with travel against a good defense. Not going to be easy for Mitch, and the markets are saying that already. Of course, Cleveland found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory in yesterday's ballgame, becoming the first team with a 13-point lead inside of 2 minutes since 2002 to lose the game straight up in regulation. And yes, this is how old I am, Drew, how long I've been in this town. I remember the game in 2002 really well, where Chicago rallied back. And they did it again the next week against San Francisco. It was the Bears team in 2002. But clearly, it doesn't happen very often, what happened in Cleveland at the end of that game yesterday with an ability to they didn't recover the onside kick. They left a wide receiver open in a late game situation that you can't do. Nick Chubb scored the touchdown instead of taking the knee where he's supposed to do that, and they run out the clock. Jadeveon Clowney left the stadium in a walking boot. Jack Conklin was inactive for the second straight week. He's hurt right now, still. And with all of that, Jacoby Brissett. This league is funny. This one was tough. It shows you can't take anything for granted. Not even talk about the end of the game, a bunch of plays early on, miscues and things of that nature. It is funny. What happened in Cleveland yesterday was pretty random. Of the 4 bad beats, this was the worst of the bunch in the NFL yesterday. If you had the Browns on the money line, it was pretty brutal. Nonetheless, money coming for Cleveland. The markets do not like Pittsburgh. We saw money pouring against Pittsburgh yesterday. We're seeing money pouring against Pittsburgh again today. If you like the Browns, get involved now.
We do have Casey Kelly saying any word if Kenny Pickett is going to start, Teddy. And Arthur saying he won't start on a short week. Doubt it anyway.
There's no way they're going to start Pickett for the Thursday night game. It's not going to happen. Maybe after this week it could happen. And in fact, it may set up a scenario where if Pittsburgh gets slapped around this week, it makes it easier. There's a longer transition period, and we could see Pickett before their next game. But I would say it's very slim chance that the veteran gets benched for the rookie for a Thursday night road.
Right, because of the short week. And it actually, to Teddy's point, it makes sense because they'll have the extra preparation time for their next game. Good stuff, Teddy. As we head to the Sunday card, September 25th, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick here. 461, 462. Guys, we're making our way down rotation order using the Wager Talk Live odds screen. First game up here, we're going to be talking about some teams with some tough losses, other teams with some good wins. First one up here, the Baltimore Ravens. They're heading to New England. They're also laying 3 on the highway here, Teddy. 44 being the total. Ravens off of that tough loss yesterday to the Dolphins. New England, that defense looking pretty solid. Catching 3 at home, 44 the total.
Yeah, look headline here was Baltimore -3, 42.5. It actually got bet under a little bit in early betting action. Not after we saw the Ravens do yesterday. Opened last night, 343. And now we're looking at 43.5. And even some 44s out there. It's actually 44 now that we're becoming the prevailing number. So we have seen over money for Baltimore, New England. My powering number only has the Ravens -1.5. And I'll tell you what, Lamar Jackson yesterday was as good a quarterback played as MVP level. He was insane. All right. 29 dropbacks, 9 rushes, no interceptions, no fumbles, no sacks, 4 touchdowns, 437 yards on those 37 snaps. All their other offensive plays, 16 carries, 36 yards. It was all Lamar. But Baltimore gave up 4 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. Secondary, missing the top cornerback, Marlon Humphrey, for the final 2 series, the number 3 cornerback, Brandon Stevens, who's inactive. When Jalen Waddle caught the winning touchdown pass, came over rookie Jalen Armour Davis, who wasn't even supposed to play in the game. He was pressed into action because of injuries. John Harbaugh, quote, "Never did you think we were going to have that many balls thrown over our head. That just can't happen. That's not okay. I don't care who's back there." So complete pass defense meltdown from a team that's not generating that much pressure on opposing quarterbacks and has cluster injuries in the secondaries. Remember, Baltimore yesterday, +2 in turnovers, 8.8 yards per play. I believe that was the best in the NFL yesterday. They had a kick return touchdown, a special teams TD, and they lost the game. That, my friend, the defensive meltdown. New England didn't have a defensive meltdown. The defense played great. The offense did not play great. It was a really problematic offensive performance. Mac Jones, multiple throws, lucky not to be picked off. They made a handful of plays. There was a big throw before halftime to Aguilar, where Aguilar stole the interception from the receiver. There was a muff punt that led to a touchdown. There was a big pass deflection in the fourth quarter that kind of saved the game. And they closed out the game on a winning drive. They were able to burn out the clock. Defensive back Devin McCourty, quote, "We're building an identity. Come to Pittsburgh and got out a win. You start to build who you are." Certainly a positive sign for New England. I do not anticipate this side to move at all. I think it sits at 3 all week. We're already seeing over money. We may see a little bit more.
Staying in the AFC East here, we get Buffalo and Miami up next. Another 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick here, guys. We're seeing the Bills, Teddy, -4.5 as the road favorite at almost all the shops, actually as low as 4 and as high as -5, but consensus number -4 in the hook on the road, 50.5 the total in Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, look ahead line 4.5 and 51. It was before kickoff yesterday, 4.5 and 50. My powering number is 4. It opened 4.5, 50, 51. And that's exactly what we're talking about right now. I would call the line 4.5/5 with a lone 4 out there that I'm not convinced is going to hold. Buffalo plays on Monday Night Football. If they blow out Tennessee, this line could go higher. If they get beat, the line's going to be right where it is because the markets are really high on Buffalo. So this is one of those deals where I think it's a one-way line. If the Bills lose, we'll see Buffalo money. If the Bills win, we'll see Buffalo money. There's attraction to Buffalo right now. And again, the Dolphins are on the other end of that Baltimore stuff. They were -2 in turnovers. They gave up 8.8 yards per play, gave up a kick return touchdown, and won the game. Tua. This just shows the resiliency of our team. You look at the big picture of it, the confidence goes up. And when you're tying records held by Bob Greasy and Dan Marino, you're doing something right in Miami. All that being said, Dolphins have lost 7 of the last 8 to the Bills. They have not had a whole lot of success in this matchup. And prior to the second half of Baltimore, this new look offense had 2 touchdowns in the first 6 quarters. Okay, combined. And they went nuts against a broken down defense yesterday. Miami maybe will be the overvalued commodity here. Buffalo's going to take this seriously, even on a short week. And I can only see the money coming for the Bills, win or lose. The wise guys are not going to look at Miami and say that's a bet-on performance, despite their offensive showing.
And the last AFC East team we'll talk about here, the New York Football Jets at home hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. Another 1 o'clock Eastern kick here, Teddy. We're seeing Bengals -4.5 at most shops right now, 45 the total in MetLife.
Yeah, the look-ahead line here, Cincy 6, 42.5. Before kickoff yesterday, it was 6. There were 6.5s out there and 43. My powering number is 6. And then Cincy went out and looked rough again against Dallas. And the line opens 4.5, 43, and it's sitting there 4.5. There are some 5s popping up. And frankly, I really consider this as an emergency betting alert as well. I'm just going to leave it at this. I'm not going to call it emergency betting alert because I'm not seeing the pressure. But the money's coming for Cincy. All right. Maybe we should. I don't even know. It's like the emergency betting alert is such an odd thing right now. As to okay, this is an emergency bet. If you like the Bengals, play them sooner rather than later. I'll leave it at that. And of course, Flacco, 4 touchdowns, no picks yesterday. Of course, they did score 13 points in the final 2 minutes. And again, from week 9 of 2002, teams had lost 2,229 consecutive games when trailing by at least 13 points in the final 2 minutes. The Jets were able to recover the onside kick, and the worst beats in football come with an onside kick recovery. But Jets made some plays when it counted to steal one. There's not betting market support coming for New York right now. Look, right now we have to be concerned about Joe Burrow and the state of the offensive line. The Bengals didn't get into the red zone until late in the fourth quarter yesterday. Burrow was sacked 7 times against the Steelers. He went down 6 times against the Cowboys. 42 dropbacks, 199 passing yards, 6 sacks, lost 34 yards. Means you got 165 net on 42 dropbacks from a Super Bowl quarterback. That's not working. 3.8 yards per play gain. That's not working. Defensive end Sam Hubbard, quote, "You can't let it affect you. People look to you and your demeanor, how you handle yourself, and all you can do is go back to work." I'm excited to get back to work. Cincinnati has a lot of work to do. They did lose to the Jets last year. They're not going to look past this team. And right now, they're struggling offensively at 0-2. Yeah, the money's going to come for the Bengals here. If you like Cincy, bet them right now.
Yeah, guys, sooner rather than later. I don't think we're making this an EBA, just a sooner rather than later, right, Teddy?
So in terms of like what I'm actually supposed to like, my parameters for using the EBA, I feel like we should, if we're going to put it on a list, put it on a list. So yeah, let's EBA it. Yeah, if you like the Bengals, bet them now. I don't think the 4.5 will be there.
All right, poking the bear a little bit, guys. We got the Bengals as the second emergency betting alert. We're heading down the list here. 467, 468 up next, 1 o'clock Eastern. New Orleans Saints on the road against the Carolina Panthers. Saints -3. There is a 2.5 that just popped up there. That's the Saints as the road favorite, but majority -3 here. 40.5 being the total, Teddy.
Look ahead, 2.5, 42.5. Sunday before kickoff, 2.5, 42.5. My powering number, 3.5. For New Orleans. The market's 2.5, 3, mostly 3s this morning. Total sitting at 40. That being said, I would not be surprised if we see Carolina money. The 0-2 teams are going to take money. And no one's excited about New Orleans right now. They look bad in week 1. They look bad in week 2. So I could emerge, let's do it. Let's get emergency betting alerts out there. If you like Carolina, bet them now at +3. I'm not convinced it'll be there. Let's get the graphic whenever Dan has it. Yeah, Carolina +3. I'm not convinced it'll hold. The thing is, it's not going to 3.5. So if you lock in at 3 now, you'll either get the best of the number or you'll get the prevailing number. I don't think it's going to hurt you. And there's a decent chance. I would not be surprised at all if we see wise guy money on Carolina. I know there are issues with the Panthers. The Giants didn't have their top 2 edge rusher. They had a much easier defense to face week 2 than week 1. And they still didn't move the football pretty well. There was not much chemistry with Baker and his receivers. Lots of dropsies. They have talent. I mean, Matt Rule keeps saying we're way better than they were last year, and I wouldn't argue with that. The defense blew up the line of scrimmage on every play against the Giants, 3.8 yards per play. McCaffrey hits 100 yards on the ground, but the -2 turnovers hurt them. And I think Matt Rule right now, they've lost 9 straight. Dating back to last year. It's the longest losing streak in the NFL. And, of course, you're coming off back-to-back 5-win seasons. This team's a little bit desperate. And I think they'll play like it. Matt Rule, that's 2 games in a row. We came down to the end with a chance to win the game and came up short both times. I take full responsibility for that. That's my job. That falls on me. I have to help these guys find a way to make one more play and win the game. And that's where Carolina's been. They've been 1 play away. Saints defense looked a lot better this week than it did week 1 against Atlanta. They stuffed the run. They controlled the line. But the issues with Jameis Winston, now they're saying that he's got, cracked vertebrae in his back. They held Tampa to 4 yards per play. They were -4 in turnover ratio. And Winston was okay in that game, but he certainly wasn't good. And when things went bad, he threw 3 interceptions on 3 straight possessions, including a pick 6 in the fourth quarter. He was hesitant when trying to run the football. He overthrew some guys, and it fell apart bad. Winston, quote, "Everyone in that locker room was playing with a banged-up something. most important offensively. They have to do a better job executing on third downs, and I can't give them the football. We might see Carolina money here. We've already seen some. And like I said, if you like the Panthers, grab a +3 now. That may not stick around.
NFC North Division battle up next here, Teddy, after back-to-back EBAs, guys. We got Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings up next here, Teddy. We're seeing the Vikings -7-point home favorites, 52.5 or 53 being the total. And guys, a reminder here, I've learned over doing the NFL opening line report. If you're liking Minnesota tonight in the Monday Night Football game, look to bet them twice. If you're not liking them, like in the other side, maybe look to fade them twice. But Teddy, throw it over to you. Detroit, Minnesota, Vikings -7.
Yeah, this line's already moved, and I don't think it moves off. If Minnesota looks great tonight, if Minnesota looks awful tonight, I still think they're going to go in that 7-point range. Look ahead was 8 and 50. Before kickoff was down to 7.5 and 50. Last night, 7.5s, 50, 51. And then this morning, we're looking at 7 and 53s out there, 52.5, 53s for the total. Detroit, the markets have figured out the Lions as being a dead nuts over team, which they are. We're going to see over money on Detroit games. Minnesota obviously plays tonight. And the Lions could have been one of those bad beats yesterday. They really could have. They went in the halftime up 22-0, and they came out and looked every bit as flat as the Ravens did with their big lead, or the Raiders did with their big lead. And Washington got momentum and scored a couple of touchdowns. But the difference between that game and the other bad beats was that the Lions' offensive line was so strong that the offense got clicking again in the second half. And they were able to respond to that Washington rally. They gained 7 yards per play. And they got contributions from all the guys. Jared Goff looked good yesterday. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge day. Hawkinson had a big day. DeAndre Swift. They're getting big plays out of the passing game. They scored 35 or more points in each of their first 2 games for the first time since 1970. There's clearly market support for Detroit. And again, we're looking at +7 right now. I really don't think it's going to move off. There are games in which the Monday Night Football outcome is going to dramatically affect the point spread. I just don't think this is one of them. I think win or lose, Minnesota still goes at 7. So this isn't anything where there's urgency to get to the betting window. Worth noting, last quote from Jared Goff: "We're a good offense. We can be a great offense, one of the best in the league." Scored 7 yards per play yesterday in 35 back-to-back weeks. And oh, by the way, they didn't even have 2 of their starting offensive linemen yesterday, or their top cornerback.
Good stuff, Teddy. Nice little analysis there. Minnesota and Detroit as we got next game up. Man, this is an interesting one, Teddy. Interested in your opinion here. 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 471, 472. Kansas City Chiefs, Indianapolis Colts, 49 being the total here, Teddy. We're seeing KC -6.5 at most shops. There is a -7 at the South Point in Las Vegas. Of course, Indy, just themselves, a very intriguing handicap here, Teddy. Poor showing in Jacksonville yesterday. Think they can bounce back here at home.
Look ahead line, KC -3 at 52.5. The Chiefs were lucky to beat the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. Lucky. I tell you, when you get a 99-yard interception return touchdown and you win by a field goal, you're lucky to win that game. And now the betting markets are 6.5. There's even 7s out there. So there's been a significant adjustment off of one team, Indianapolis Colts. And I think it's merited, to be perfectly honest. Gus Bradley with his 2 high safeties on defense. Like, Gus Bradley's defense has been exposed for years. All right. And he got another job with his old buddy in Indy, and his defense has been exposed. Quarterbacks know how to pick that apart, and they do. All right, now we didn't have Michael Pittman yesterday. Matt Ryan hasn't been good with Pittman, without Pittman. If you watch the body language yesterday, it could have been worse. Wide receivers dropping a lot of passes. There's no wide receiving talent for this team. 218 yards, 9 first downs. Ryan was sacked 5 times. He threw 3 picks. It's supposed to be a good offensive line. 3 picks for the first time in 15 seasons. DeForest Buckner, quote, "That bleep was embarrassing. We got our bleep whooped. We have to come in tomorrow, take it on the chin, and grow from this." Matt Ryan, quote, "I certainly had high expectations coming in, and certainly don't want to think you're going to be 0-1-1. That's just not in the competitor's mindset. We are where we are. I think being realistic about where we are is important. It has to be brutal honesty. Jonathan Taylor, 9 carries in that ballgame. Finished with 54 rushing yards against Jacksonville. Frank Reich, quote, I don't feel like it's a lack of motivation. I just feel like it's a lack of, well, we got outcoached and got outplayed. Again, they didn't have Shaq Leonard. They didn't have Michael Pittman. But the markets are crashing on Indy, and I don't disagree with that. I want no part of the Colts even returning home right now. And it's worth noting for KC, 2 really positive chemistry things for KC. One, they got smacked in the mouth on Thursday night and found a way to win. Andy Reid, quote, the thing I'm most proud of is that we stuck together. Nobody pointed any fingers. The other thing that's worth noting about KC, last year was like, all right, if you can stop Tyreek Hill, you can stop Kansas City maybe. Their touchdowns were scored by 3 backups. A rookie 7th rounder, Jalen Watson, 4th round wide receiver, and Justin Watson, and our running back and Jerick McKinnon, all backups. And if they can put points on the board in bunches without Kelsey and without Juju Smith-Schuster having the big games, the diversity of that offense, it's going to be a problem for a team like Indy that's playing that too high safety look that just has been abused by quarterbacks from home. So spot-wise, there's going to be some support at +7. The wise guys will come in on Indy. I'm confident of that. Again, the look ahead was 3. They're going to say, let's take +7. So if we see 7s, I don't think it'll hold. I would expect 6.5 to be the prevailing number. But I want no part of Indy right now. That team feels like a train wreck. And nothing when it comes to the coaches' quotes, the players' quotes, makes me feel like there's a switch about to be flipped for Indy now they return home after back-to-back divisional ugliness against 2 teams that are still bottom 5 in anybody's power rating.
Sure, Teddy. I mean, they're using quotes with brutal honesty in it. So, yeah, it's where Indianapolis Colts are. Teddy covers, ladies and gentlemen. Check him out at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. He's hot. 32-14, 70% all sports run, 8-2, 80% NFL run. If you're wondering who's number 1 profits at WagerTalk since February 1st, you're looking at him. That's Teddy Covers. Number 1 since February 1st of this year. He's also rock solid in college football. 2-0 with the big tickets, 63% year to date. So going to want to check out his NFL, college football. Can get him both. He does MLB as well. But we got a special promo here for the NFL opening line report. His 30-day NFL pass for just $119 comes out to less than $10 each. NFL game day, use the coupon code TEDDY30, that's TEDDY 30, TEDDY30 at checkout, 30-day NFL pass, big savings there, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Next game up, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific here, Teddy, 473-474 Las Vegas Raiders versus the Tennessee Titans. So we're seeing the Raiders -1 on the road, 45.5 being the total in Nashville, Teddy.
Yeah, again, promo code TEDDY30 to take advantage of that full 30-day access of NFL at the discounted price. That's only available. That's a discount code I'm only giving out here on the opening line report. Thank you for watching. I appreciate those of you who want to take advantage of this special offer, TEDDY30 at checkout. When it comes to Philly and Washington, obviously Philly's going to play tonight. Look ahead line was 3.50.5. Sunday before kickoff, 3.50. My powering number is 5.5, and the markets are splitting the difference between them. Today we're seeing 4s on Philadelphia, the Commanders. I mean, there's positive things for Washington. Carson Wentz is back-to-back 300-yard, 3-touchdown games. Carson Wentz did that. I was very proud of his quote. I was very proud of the way he responded in the second half, but the first half was horrible. The league is too hard to be that inconsistent. Of course, the defense got picked apart yesterday against a really good offensive line. Antonio Gibson, only 28 yards on 14 carries. And when you're down 22-0 at halftime, it means that he didn't show up initially in the game. So, there are some concerns about Washington from a spot standpoint. It will be Philly coming off a Monday Night Football game in Washington. Philly coming off a Monday Night Football game, traveling against a Washington team coming off a loss. In theory, the spot should favor the Commanders.
Teddy, we got what next game up here? Philadelphia and Washington, 475, 476.
No, we just did Philly, Washington. We missed Vegas and Tennessee.
Okay, Vegas, Tennessee here, -146 being the total.
Yeah, so the look-ahead line here was pick 'em on this ball game, 48.5. Before kickoff, the total been bet down to 47, was still sitting at pick. My number is Tennessee favored in this ball game. I got Titans at -2 going into Monday Night Football. See how they look tonight. If they get bombed tonight, it will probably crash the market. And I was really surprised to see the Raiders as 1-point favorites here, total sitting at 45.5. Penalties killed them in week 1. Penalties killed them in week 2. There were a lot of things to like about the Raiders yesterday. All right. But the offensive line, again, is a legit problem. Everything that worked from Carr was quick release. They had red zone problems. They're settling for field goals in the red zone. The pass rush was there until it mattered most at the end of the game. And 20-0 at halftime, the play calling after halftime was pretty baffling to me. McDaniel's trying to milk the clock in the fourth quarter. The Raiders are up 16 in the fourth quarter. They ran a total of 8 fourth quarter offensive plays, along with their 2 punts. 5 of the 8 were passes. I'm surprised the Raiders are chalk here. The markets are really telling us with this number, they devalued the crap out of the Tennessee Titans. The Titans not a team the betting markets believe in, right? Because the Raiders going east for an early start game tends to be a team the markets go against, not with.
Guys, sorry about the mix-up there. I think we're back on track here, Teddy. 477, 478, Houston and Chicago. Back on the same page here, guys. 40.5 being the total. We're seeing the Bears -2 in the hook. There is a -3 out there, Teddy, but mostly 2.5. That's the Bears at home in Soldier Field.
Yeah, so there's this new TV show that I'm taping every week called Beat the Odds. We tape it. So you end up doing like 5 takes of the same thing. And the one that goes on air is the right one. Here, we're going live. By the way, check your local listings. Right here in Vegas is on Friday nights. It's 5 o'clock on the Fox at 7 o'clock. Right, if I get we're in between the news and TMZ against Jeopardy. It's kind of cool. But check your local listings for that Beat the Odds program that I'm now taping every week for this football season. One of those check your local listings type of deal. The point being is that we're live. There's going to be screw-ups, and it's inevitable. That's part of the process. Look ahead line here. Chicago -3, 38.5. Before kickoff, the total been bet up to 39. For kickoff yesterday, the total been bet up to 39. My powering number is 3, and the markets basically are 2.5 with some 3s popping. And I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think the markets are going to like Chicago as a 3-point favorite. I don't think the market's going to like Houston as a 2.5-point dog. It feels like it's going to sit 2 and 3/4 all week, with juice on the 2.5s and the 3s that are out there, juice the other way. Boy, the Texans, this is what the offense is. They're not going to outscore anyone. All Lovey wants to do is ugly it up. They're a dead nuts under team. Davis Mills had 43 dropbacks, 177 passing yards, 2 rushes for 1 yard, 3 sacks for -23 yards. That's a net of 43 times you drop back for 155 yards. That's not good from your passing game. I don't see it necessarily getting any better. That being said, Josh Fields threw 11 passes yesterday in the game. They lost by 17. Only had 22 minutes of possession. The team did run for 6.7 yards per carry against Green Bay, which is probably a positive sign. And, both these teams have been a little bit better than advertised, I would say. I've still got Houston power rated as the single worst team in the NFL. Chicago's a notch or 2 above that. We like Everflus so far. Not a game I expect to bet. Not a game the markets are going to see a lot of action in. We might well see some under money in this one between 2 struggling offenses, and yet all the early money's come on the over, saying these 2 struggling offenses are likely to figure out something against. I would bet this game over. I'm surprised by that move with money coming on Houston, Chicago over, and that's recent money that just came 39.5 up to 40.5. Not my money.
That's 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kicks in the books. Now we'll move on to the afternoon slate where we got 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific kicks. The first one up here, Teddy, 479, 480, Jacksonville at the LA Chargers. 47.5 being the total, -7. That is the Bolts at home in Southern California. Of course, across the country here for the Jags, -7, 48 the total, Teddy.
Look headline, -9, 50.5. Sunday morning, after the Chargers already played. -9 at 50.5. My powering number is 9, and the market said, no, Jacksonville's good now. Let's make it only 7. So and that's where it is today, 7. Look, this line's going to move based on what happens with Justin Herbert, who we expect to play. It's one of those, it was a really tough loss for the Chargers last Thursday night. The team that they're dying to beat, the team that they have to get past to win the division. They have a 99-yard pick six, and then your quarterback gets cracked ribs and is going to be in pain all year. The backup for the Chargers, Chase Daniel, obviously Keenan Allen already out. They lost the center, Corey Linsley, and right tackle Trey Pippins in the third quarter of that game against KC. Oh, gee, a couple of linemen got hurt, and then the quarterback got hurt. That's the way it works, So we're going to have to see what the reports say about how Herbert is looking / feeling this week. Things to like for Jacksonville. Look, the offense was really methodical. They ground out first downs. Trevor Lawrence, a simple game plan, simple passes, and it worked for him. Last week, it was all about mistakes in week 1. Yesterday, it was the mistakes were largely fixed. And of course, the defense, 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, lots of pressure on Matt Ryan. Of course, tap the brakes just a little bit. The Jags now 6-30, straight up their last 36. 4 of the 6 wins during that span have come against Indy. So that's the team they can beat. And of course, when you see quotes like this is a red flag quote to me. And I know it sounds positive. Safety, Rashawn Jenkins, quote, "I think we can keep it going. I feel it. This is a whole new team. It's just completely different. We got the guys in here to do it week in and week out. We got some dogs in here," which they do. But you don't want a team sounding happy after a week 2 win. You want a team sounding hungry after a week 2 win. I didn't get that sense from Jacksonville. They seemed very pleased with themselves getting off the schneid yesterday and all the quotes that I was reading.
Teddy, next game up, 481, 482, guys. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, the Battle of Bays here, Teddy. 41 being the total. We're down in Florida, in Tampa Bay, -2.5 at most shops. There is a -2 out there. That's the Bucks as the short home favorite, Teddy.
Yeah, this would have doodly-ooped if we'd have been on a couple hours early. The 3s are gone for this game, and they weren't going to hold, and it was pretty obvious last night. Look ahead, of course, was 347.5. Sunday morning, 347.5. My powering number, 3. The markets open, 3. There were 3s still this morning, and now the 3s have been taken down to 2.5. And I wasn't smart with my Green Bay analysis. I was really worried. I'm still worried about the Packers. I'm not convinced that last night's win solves everything for Green Bay. But that old Aaron Rodgers, relax deal certainly came into play last night. The Packers who looked awful week 1 did not look awful in week 2, although they were helped by playing the Bears. The Bucks are struggling, man. Offense, 4 yards per play. They were +4 in turnovers yesterday, and we're still fighting to win the game. A lot of that came late. And the offensive injuries are piling up. The receiving core is banged up. The offensive line is banged up. The running backs are banged up. It's a really struggling offense. All the the memes were all of Brady, throwing the tablet to the ground and looking really, really frustrated. That said, their defense has been unbelievable the first couple of weeks. 4 takeaways and 9 plays in the fourth quarter. Nobody's moved the football on Tampa all year, and the pressure's been on the quarterback every single play. So we'll see how the Packers' offensive line situation shapes up this week as they travel to Tampa. Feels like an under game to me. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some under money in this one. In fact, we already have seen a bunch of under money in this one. It's pouring in. 48, one book opened at. And we're seeing 41.5 right now if you like the under. Again, you already missed the best of it. You can still get involved if you so choose, and I would do it sooner rather than later. Because Tampa, the markets are going nuts on Tampa to the under right now.
Yeah, serious under money in that one, guys, as we got a couple more afternoon kicks here. Next one up, 483, 484, 425 Eastern, 125 Pacific. Atlanta Falcons, Seattle Seahawks. 42 being the total here, Teddy. -2. As low as actually -1, but mostly -2s here. That's the Seahawks at home. Atlanta off of that tough game against the Rams actually looks strong. They're 2-0 against the spread, 0-2 straight up. They are staying out on the West Coast, I believe, practicing at the University of Washington this week, Teddy. What are we thinking here, Atlanta and Seattle?
Yeah, that's why you much prefer the team that stays out west than travels east and then travels all the way back across the country the following week. Those tend to be a good morale situation. They tend to be good team building exercises, and we look to bet on teams that do that. New England has been the best over the years at giving us those situations and then letting us take advantage of them with winning wagers. A look ahead line here with Seattle 3-42, Sunday morning 3-42. Last night anywhere from 2 to 3 and 42.5, and this morning we're seeing the threes are gone, the 2.5s are gone. I don't blame them. My powering number is Seahawks 1. And I gave Seattle more home field than I did for most teams. This home field means something in Seattle. Look, the home field edge. How much the home field edge helped Cleveland yesterday? How much they helped the Raiders yesterday? It's a non-factor at most venues. Seattle, not necessarily that venue, but it's definitely worth noting. Seahawks offense. Remember, they scored 17 before halftime in their opener against Denver. They haven't scored a point. Not a point. I'm not saying not a touchdown. Not a point since then. Look, Geno only had 6 incomplete passes yesterday, and only 2 sacks and 1 interception. He didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, but only 1 pass longer than 17 yards of his 24 completions. And they got outrushed 189-36, and they had 10 penalties, and they were -3 in turnovers. Pete Carroll, quote, quite a distance from one week to the next. This league just reminds you how you get humbled. We didn't do anything like we wanted to today at the line of scrimmage on either side of the football. Remember, the only touchdown they got in that game was a blocked chip shot field goal that was returned 86 yards for the score. Make an argument from a power rating standpoint. Seattle deserves to be at the bottom or near the bottom of the NFL. And Atlanta, look, so they're down 21-3 at the break in LA yesterday. They didn't punt in the first half. Okay. There was a good pass that was bobbled away, and the receiver caught it and returned it 60 yards. They had a penalty in the red zone on the first sack on the first drive, and then took a sack and then missed a field goal. Then they got stopped on downs. They moved the ball the whole day. Mariota's looked okay. He's looked better than I thought he was going to look. And Drake London had a big day yesterday. And Atlanta trailing 28-3, were thrown in the end zone with a chance to win at the end. Arthur Smith. Obviously, it wasn't perfect. We need to break through. But one thing about our guys, no matter what has happened, we have a chance till the last play to win it. Obviously, didn't make enough plays, but the game playing gave us enough, and the guys kept grinding. Gotta lean Atlanta here. The market's already leaning towards Atlanta, and unfortunately, we already missed the best of the note.
Like it, Teddy. Good analysis there. And also the team building aspect of it. I didn't think about that part. Staying out west, something to think about, guys. We got LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals up next, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific kick. -4. That's the Rams road favorite here, Teddy. 50 to as high as 51 being the total in the desert.
Look ahead line, 4.5, 50.5. Before kickoff, 4.5, 51.5. So some under money. My powering number 4, and the markets today are 4. And anywhere between 50 and 51 on the total. I do not anticipate any significant line move on this one. There's no emergency here to make you guys bet. All right. And I want to make this really clear. When I say emergency betting alert, that's not a game I have an opinion on. I'm not giving you my best bets. What I'm saying is the markets are going to move on these games. So if you like that side, now's the time to bet. Or if you like the total, now's the time to bet it. These are not my client plays. The client plays are very different. Those come out later in the week. And obviously, if you take advantage of that Teddy 30 offer as your promo code at checkout, you can get a full month of that NFL plays, just $1.19. So it is worth noting, box score lies for the Rams. They had a blocked punt that ended up getting graded as a -26 rushing yards. So they ran far better. Numbers are going to show only 2.5 yards per carry. And early in the season, sometimes those statistical anomalies can and will affect how the markets view a team. So that's something that I noticed in the box score that was definitely worth noting here. They didn't have a negative yardage play on offense until the fourth quarter. And then they had a bunch of things, and everything fell apart, and they had a blocked punt and intentional safety. And Sean McVay, quote, there's still a lot of different, very uncharacteristic things, but they happen. And we still found a way. We're not going to run away from some of the things we didn't do well today. We're also going to allow ourselves to appreciate being able to come away with a win There are still some concerns about that offensive line. There are still some concerns about that receiving core. I don't know what to say about Arizona. They looked as lifeless yesterday as they did in their opener. It was 23-7, fourth quarter, and the Raiders are like, yeah, we don't want it that much. You guys take it. And then Kyler Murray started doing Kyler Murray things. And Kyler Murray was insane. And the Raiders' defensive game plan, where you're rushing 2 and dropping 9 into coverage, it allowed Murray to just sit there forever and ever until the defenders got. There was 5 plays that lasted more than 10 seconds. With Murray just running around, and wait for the defense to get tired. I don't know the Rams do that. Rams have blown up Arizona pretty good in recent meetings. And I think it's a game that they'll take seriously. But on the other hand, Arizona's A game is good enough to beat anyone. Look, when Kyler Murray's doing that, they're a tough team to beat. And we saw some of that. I don't know what we're going to see at Arizona this week moving forward. I wasn't thrilled with the game plan. I wasn't thrilled with the quotes after the game. I'm not convinced we see more of the same. That might be a team that just got hot for like 9 minutes and then back to being Arizona. Arizona's been terrible at home since the middle of last season. Much better as road dogs than home dogs or home favorites.
Yeah, Teddy, that play by Kyler Murray, man, that was one of the best plays I've seen in quite some time, seeing him run around like that. It's almost like backyard football.
Okay, stop. It was an awful play. We hated it. Nothing about that play was enjoyable. It took 6 years off my life, and it cost me back-to-back Sunday sweeps in the NFL. So, no, I was not amused by that play. With zeros on the clock in the fourth quarter on fourth down after they shut him down 15 times after Raider had dropped the interception and all of that. No. So, yeah, as a fan, okay, great. As a bettor, that play effed me, and I'm not amused by it at all. Or one of those plays effed me. There were many of them by Murray in the final couple of minutes of the ball. You didn't want to be at my house when that was happening, Drew.
Yeah. No.
I had and again, I had a winning day yesterday in the NFL. We had a winning week 1. It's not like I'm running bad. When you're running bad and those beats come, it's much harder to take. But I wanted back-to-back Sunday sweeps, and that was the thing that cost me, was Kyler Murray being insane and the Raiders having a poor approach on both sides of the football. So I was pissed off. I was pissed off for like an hour after that game.
Yeah, that would be a tough one for anybody to take, Teddy. Sorry for bringing that up. And we'll move right down the list to Sunday Night Football, guys. We got 8:20 Eastern, 5:20 Pacific kick here, 487-488. San Francisco 49ers, Denver Broncos heading a mile high here, Teddy. -1 or pick 'em. There's some -1s out there. That's the 49ers as a short road favorite. 45 being the total. Of course, the story here, quarterback change. Trey Lance going down, Jimmy Garoppolo coming in. Actually might be a bet-on sign for San Francisco, in my opinion, Teddy. What are we thinking here Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, I got a season win bets on the 49ers under, and it's predicated on Trey Lance, or on Jimmy G being out of town at least. And then, of course, they signed Jimmy G at the end because nobody wants him, and now he's starting quarterback and making plays. That said, the markets are telling us very clearly they like Jimmy G a lot more than Trey Lance. Look ahead line for this game. Denver -3 and 46. Before kickoff on Sunday, Denver -3 and 46. Jimmy G takes over for Trey Lance. And I know Denver's being devalued a little bit. But we're talking about, a 3-point line move here, pick them. And that's not just the one side. That's not just San Fran looking good and Denver looking dicey. That's the markets respect Jimmy G more than they respect Trey Lance. Flat out. Jimmy G's quote, just like riding a bike. Felt good to be back out there. Feels terrible for Trey. I've been on that side of it. This league is tough. That sucks for him. Worth noting, 49ers 9-29 in games not started by Garoppolo under Shanahan. After the win yesterday, they were +3 in turnovers. The Seabags had 10 penalties, and the Niners only had 1. They outrushed them by a 6-1 margin. It was a pretty easy win for San Fran. I don't know if they're that easy against Denver. But the Broncos, all kinds of injuries. Jerry Jeudy, first-round pick, is hurt. Pat Surtain, first-round pick, is hurt. Justin Simmons, who they signed to a $61 million extension, hurt. The crowd booing Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett off the field. 25 penalties in the first 2 games. Wilson starting, completing just 6 of his first 20 throws. Yeah, the markets are crashing on Denver a little bit. And they're going to like San Fran in this one. I'm not surprised that we already see the 49ers -1 in some books. I would anticipate San Fran much more likely to get the money here than Denver.
One game left, guys. That's the Monday nighter for next week, September 26th. Dallas Cowboys, New York Football Giants here, Teddy. NFC East battle. 39.5 being the total. The Giants, the 2-0 Giants, -2 in the hook at home. Of course, Dallas with the backup quarterback as well. What are we thinking, Cowboys and G-Men?
Cooper Rush played well enough to win yesterday. He played well enough to win his last start. It was a classic NFL overreaction move with Cincy laying a touchdown yesterday. But here, the look headline, Giants 4.5, 40.5. And the markets aren't high on the Giants. They were home dogs to Carolina yesterday. Before kickoff, we'd had seen some Dallas money already, 4 and 40.5. And then we saw 3s last night. And now we're seeing 2.5s today. So we're already seeing the money coming for Dallas. My powering number is the Giants only -1.5. Dallas defense allowed only 3.8 yards per play yesterday, and the Giants offense is pretty broken. Nothing worked right offensively. They were 3.8 yards per play. The offense got blown up on again and again. +2 turnovers mattered. The Giants defense has been their MVP so far. And they've been doing it without their top 2 edge rushers, and then top defensive lineman Leonard Williams got hurt yesterday. We'll have to see what his status is. Saquon Barkley, quote, "It's exciting. It's hard to win in this league, but we got to treat it like a loss when we watch the film. We have to be our biggest critics and see what we can do better. These last 2 wins, we didn't come out fast. We can't do that, but our defense made plays for us." Giants have a bottom-tier offense right now. Cowboys have a bottom-tier offense right now. This total not likely to get bet up between now and next Monday.
Teddy covers NFL opening line report. Guys, check him out, wagertalksportsmemo.com. He's the #1 handicapper at Wager Talk since February 1st. You're wondering who's #1. It's Teddy covers. 5% big ticket plays, 28-9, 76% his last 37, 44-17, 72% since May of last year. 32-14, 70% all sports run, an 8-2, 80% NFL run, and that includes that little bit of a bad beat with the Cardinals and Murray, that last one we were just talking about. Guys, you see the code right there, Teddy30 at checkout, 30-day NFL All Access, just $119. So going to want to check them out, guys. Experts page, Teddy covers, wagertalksportsmemo.com. We got Arthur in the chat box saying he already got his Teddy30. So good for you, Arthur. Teddy, throw it over to you, man. Any final thoughts for the show before we shut this down?
All we're trying to look, I think this is a good show. Drew thinks this is a good show. I work really hard putting this show together. All I ask, if you like the show, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. And if you feel generous, tell your friends. We're getting big views each week on YouTube in the replay. And if you could just tell whoever it is that likes NFL what we're doing here, we really appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hang with us on the opening line. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. That will do it. Teddy covers, Drew Martin. Check it out. We will be back next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Huge shout out to everybody commenting below in the reply section and in the chat box on today's show. So, guys, next Monday, 10 a.m., we will be back right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. For Teddy covers, I'm Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. Thanks for tuning in.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com, when all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.